In last video, we have discussed about different types of design pattern, that is creational, structural, behavioral. Now we are discussing about behavioral design pattern some extent. Now I am just going to complete the rest of the things. So behavioral design pattern, this type of design patterns provides the solutions for the better interactions between the objects, and how to provide loose coupling and flexibility to extend easily in future. We have already explained on that. So now behavioral design pattern always based on the interactions, the links, the communications between objects, and we have to see that there must be the links must be, or the communications must be based on loose coupling concepts, and which gives you the facilities for maintenance purposes. Now you can see the different types of patterns under different categories like a creational, structural, and behavioral. As I told, according to GOF, we have 23 design patterns. In creational design patterns, we have 5 design patterns. These are singleton design pattern, factory design pattern, abstract factory design pattern, builder design pattern, and prototype design pattern. So these 5 design patterns comes under creational design pattern. The second is a structural design pattern. In structural design patterns, you will have 7 design patterns, such as adapter design pattern, composite design pattern, proxy design pattern, flyweight design pattern, facet design pattern, bridge design pattern, decorator design pattern. These are the 7 design patterns in structural category. Similarly, you will have in behavioral design pattern category, we have 11 design patterns, such as template method, mediator patterns, chain of responsibility patterns, observer patterns, strategy patterns, command patterns, state patterns, visitor patterns, iterator design patterns, interpreter design patterns, and memento design patterns. These are the 11 design patterns which comprised under behavioral design patterns. Now depends upon the nature of the design patterns, it has been categorized into 3: creational, which creates the object; structural, which gives the structure of an object or classes; and behavioral, it shows the behavior or properties or different behaviors of an object and classes. That means we have to see how it links to other objects, or objects to object relations, classes to classes relations, or different subsystem to subsystems. Now we have to establish the link, we have to make a interface interactions between different components here, behavioral. So now these 11 design patterns under behavioral, so all these design patterns indicates or addresses the interactions. It addresses the coupling concepts, loosely coupling concepts, or it addresses the communications aspects of different objects, classes, or any subsystems. Similarly, in structural design patterns, you will have the 7: adapter, composite, proxy, flyweight, facet, bridge, and decorator. These all design patterns address to the structure of an object, structure of an class, or structure of an particular subsystem. So all these 7 design patterns have a common features, that is structural features. Similarly, in creational design patterns, you will find that each and every time we have to create the objects in a different manner. So now whenever we are going to create any system or any object or any class or any instances of a particular object or class, we have to go for creating the class, creating the object, creating the systems. If you are going for creation, then we have to use 5 design patterns like singleton, factory, abstract factory, builder and prototype design patterns. So now this is total 23 design patterns which has been provided by GOF, Gang of 4, the 4 authors already we have discussed. So now we'll see one by one in a brief manner, and we'll explain detail each and every design patterns completely with code and all the elements in subsequent videos. Now in this particular sessions, just I'll brief each and every patterns under different categorical design patterns. Now first categorical design patterns, we have a creational design pattern. We have total 5 design patterns on this creational design patterns, out of which factory method is one. Now we'll discuss in brief about factory design pattern. What is it? Now you can imagine this picture. One side I have given one factory, and we have another side we have 3 rectangle boxes, a particular image we have created. So see this image or see this picture, you will come to know the brief ideas about factory method. Now first see the definitions or what it does. The factory method, it provides an interface. It provides an interface for creating. Now it helps to create different objects through a particular interface. So it provides an interface for creating objects in a superclass. So class and superclass we called base class or universal class, but always subclasses to alter the types of objects that will be created. Now we have subclasses, we have different types of objects in different subclasses, and these subclasses, these objects can be created by the interface which is in the superclasses. Now in other sense we can define factory methods. The factory patterns takes out the responsibility of instantiating an object from the class to a factory class. What is factory? Factory means it produces similar or dissimilar kind of products. Normally in a generic sense, what a factory does, a factory produces different types of objects. Now in this particular design pattern we have a superclass like a factory. So now this superclass or factory can help to produce different types of objects. Now how the factory patterns takes out the responsibility. He has its own role to instantiating, to create. Instantiating means create. To create an object. To create an object from the base class. Now for example, if we'll see one factory. Now suppose if we'll see the animals. We have a different kinds of animals like sea animals, those who are in sea, living in sea, and we have land animals, those who are in living in land. So now sea animals have different types of subclasses like shark, dolphin, all types of fishes we have. So now when you are creating a particular object, for example shark, so shark can be instantiated, created through the sea animals. So sea animals is a superclass here, or we call it a factory. So now from that factory we can derive, we can inherit some features which can be available in the object. Here shark is an object. So now shark is an object here which can be created or instantiated from the base class, that is a superclass, that is called factory class. So sea animals can be here treated as a factory, and out of which we can derive or we can create or we can instantiate the object like shark. Similarly in land factory, where the animals are living in land, so suppose you are instantiating tiger. Tiger can be created, tiger can be instantiated from the factory land animals. So this way we can define factory method. I think this the brief ideas of factory method must be clear. Next we'll have abstract factory method. This is the second creational design pattern. So now abstract factory method, you can see the image here. So now previously we have the first factory, see here the factory, then we are instantiating the object. Now in this particular abstract factory, you will have left side, you will have a different kinds of objects and classes, and next we are making a factory. So now let's see the definitions of that. Let's you produce the families of related objects without specifying their concrete classes. That means it allows, this factory methods allows, abstract factory method allows us to create a factory for factory classes. So now here we can have n number of factory, and which can be categorized or we can be comprised into a generic factory. Now for example, a factory consisted several products, and each and every products we call it objects can be under another factory. Now factory of factories that can be in abstract factory. So why it is abstract? Because we are hiding some information to another information. Now for example, we can go for example, last slides we have given a example, that is land factory. So land animals under land factory, that means again we can create another factory for suppose for example those who are having 4 legs, animals having 4 legs, animal having wings, or the living things can be, or those who are living in the land having wings can be one factory, we call it birds. So now birds factory can be under land factory, and similarly those who are having 4 legs or wild animals factory can be under land factory. So this way n number of factories can be comprised or can be combined in a particular factory. So that we call here abstract factory. So now here you will see the concept, you can remember one concept, that is generalization and specialization. So when we are coming from specialization to generalization, it becomes very abstract, and we will have abstraction is more and more. Now for example, we can see tiger. Tiger is a wild animal. So several wild animals can be grouped together into a factory, we call it wild animals. Similarly, we have a varieties of animals in the land. Birds we have, bird factory produces birds. So bird can be categorized into a bird factory, which is under again land factory. So now in this case, you will find n number of factories are comprised or grouped together frames a generic factory that we call land factory. I think it is clear. So now this is about abstract factory. Why it is abstract? It has some hidden or label wise descriptions, specializations. So generalized to specialization or specialization to generalization, you will find several abstractions. Now we will have next builder patterns. So we can discuss the builder patterns in the next subsequent videos, because we have to go for n number of design patterns under different categories. So now next videos you will have the complete definitions of builder design pattern under creational design pattern. Thank you for watching this video.